9 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Commissioner Cotis will lead us in an invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for this day and thank you for our beautiful county. Please guide our hearts and minds as we make our decisions today. Help us to work together and encourage each other to excellence. We ask this in the name of the Lord. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Our first order of business is approval of the minutes of August 15th. Is there a motion?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. Treasurer's report, Madam Treasurer.
Good morning. The following payments were reported to the treasurer's office. Accounts payable had a total of $1,830,540.97. Payroll for the period was $369,255.04. Other accounts would include 911 with 8 checks, 3 EFTs totaling $34,103.56. LEPC had a check for $140.10. Liquid Fuels Act 89 account had 1 EFT for $41.78. And finally, the PIB account had 1 check for $55,000.
Is there a motion to pay these bills?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Bills are paid. Continue.
Treasurer's report for the period starting 8/14 and running through 8/27/2024. We have a general account starting balance of $181,678.19. Total debits for the period are $4,112,437.74, giving us an ending balance of $2,094,319.92. And finally, the capital reserve ends the period with $15,248,732.81.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept the report?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Move on to meeting and events. I gave a list to Chief Clerk for inclusion in minutes. Commissioner Wise.
I also gave my list of the clerk. All mine.
Commissioner Coe.
I provided my list as well, and I'd like to welcome Ginger Wolfley and Bailey Cullen from MCTV here today. Thank you for filming for us.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Public comment. Any public comment? Come on up.
Good morning.
Can you state your name for minutes?
Sure, my name is Chelsea Reed. I'm from the Care Network, Mifflin, Juniata Area Agency on Aging. And I'm here today to ask our county commissioners for support in urging state legislators to pass a supplemental budget bill in September for senior services. Due to lack of funding, adequate funding and an overlook, quote unquote, in the state budget, the Department of Aging asked for an extra $15.2 million from the lottery fund to go to Penn Care, and that was not given for the Area Agency on Aging's. Here in Mifflin County, just to give you a little idea of what we do, in Mifflin County we serve over 1,000 older adults alone in this county. And obviously cutting services is the last thing that we want to do, but without more budget money, we are going to have to look at that. At this point, we're looking at waiting lists. We're looking at which services will have the least impact on the community if we have to cut services. So some of the services that this would entail is our senior centers, our home delivered meals programs, which is one of our biggest programs to combat senior nutrition, to try to keep people in their homes, in-home personal care, grocery shopping and laundry services. And that's, just to name a few. And these services are critically important to keep people in their homes and to keep them from going into personal care homes or nursing homes, and ultimately it saves the state and our county money. I also believe that the older adults in our community should be given the opportunity to live safely with the services that they need, and where they choose to live and where most have lived their entire life. So I brought along a letter as part of our advocacy, and I'm asking if you all are able to sign it, and then we can mail it to our legislators and Senator Ward's office to show support for the constituents in Mifflin County that use our services or will need to use our services in the future.
Okay, if you wanna leave the letter, we'll
Sure.
review it after the meeting,
Yeah.
get it to you. Any questions?
Is transportation part of that too?
Transportation is a separate, they use the lottery fund as well. We do, the Area Agency on Aging pays for transportation to the senior centers.
Okay.
So in part, it does cover transportation. It's possible that we wouldn't be able to pay for that transportation anymore to the senior centers, which would in turn cost
All right.
the transportation company more money.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chelsea. Any other public comment? If not, we'll proceed to new business. Election update. Paul Hoffman, our Director of Elections, will give us a status of what's happening out there in elections.
Currently, we have processed over 2,600 mail-in applications. We're in the process of getting them ready. We have not got a finalization yet from the Commonwealth to actually get the ballots started to be printed, or even, the sticks ready for the ES&S to process them. So right now, we're in a waiting stage. Yesterday, I sent out the UMOVA. If the state does not have a ballot ready, we have to send out a write-in ballot for the UMOVA. The overseas, the military, people get their ballots via email. Today, I will be sending out the federal ballots over email also. And I know a lot of you have been hearing, and I've been hearing, about early voting. Pennsylvania does not have early voting. Our early voting, people can look at our mail-ins as early voting, but the early voting in Pennsylvania is basically our mail-ins. Early voting means there's a poll set up different places that you can go and vote. We don't have that in Pennsylvania. We only process mail-in ballots. We will be sending them out as soon as we get the approval, because we want everybody to have the opportunity to vote. And,
So you're looking at lag time, you're still gonna have to wait for the Commonwealth to give you the final ballot. That is approved, then it has to be sent for printing.
and
then-
in the meanwhile, when it's being printed, our media sticks are being processed. Then when they come in, we test our ballots before we send them out to make sure they're going to, our media sticks are compatible with our ballots. That there's no problems when they come back, that we could.
And those ballots, when we receive them, cannot be opened until election day.
Correct. And that's the difference between early voting and mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballots, we cannot canvass until election day, start at 7 a.m. Early voting, they're putting the ballot in the machine and tallying it at that time. That's why Pennsylvania don't have that.
And we could accept the ballots up until 8 o'clock on election day.
Correct.
And at 8 o'clock, mail-in ballots, except for overseas ballots.
Yes.
Can be received 10 days after election, is that correct?
Correct.
Cannot be processed and will be spoiled, I guess,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay, so we're in the waiting period until ballots are approved by the Commonwealth, and then, as Paul said, you have to send them out to printing, they have to be tested, we have to proofread them at the Board of Elections. And, so we're days away.
Yeah.
Okay?
And granted, I will get them out as soon as we get them, and if you can get them back as soon as possible, we can't open them, but then if there's any problems with your ballot, there's an opportunity to fix it.
And there's an opportunity to apply for a ballot, I forget the date, a couple days before actually the election. So you might still get mail-in applications in.
Yes, I still have a stack to process, probably about 50 yet that I got in yesterday to process.
So you're over 2,600 mail-in ballots already?
Yeah. I'm estimating will probably be around 2,800, if not more. But we'll be pushing them out as soon as we get the okay.
All right, for people who want to register to vote online, what's that web address?
vote.pa.gov.
Thank you.
And the last day to register to vote for this election is October 22nd. And the last day to register for a mail-in ballot for this election is October 28th. On those 2 days, we will be here till 5 p.m. in the office. If you're registering to vote, you can bring your application in.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Paul. We'll call you back next month. B, request for exoneration of 2024 county board per capita taxes. Decatur Township has 43, Newton Appleton has 2. Is there a motion for exoneration?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Tax collectors are exonerated. C, amendment to lease with the Greater Lewistown Corporation for the Ag Extension Office for the period January 1 to December 31st, 2025. This is the existing lease, an amendment to extend that lease for the office in the Greater Lewistown Corporation Center in the downtown. Cost is $3,587.49 per month. That's a 3% increase from last year. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Lease is extended. We have a county aid, application for county aid 2024 liquid fuels in Bratton Township. This is for $2,168. Bratton Township intends to pay gas line drive. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We have a contract with Delta Development Group, which is our consultants for grant administration. This is for an additional 24 months for a fee of $6,000 per month. Is there any discussion? If not, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes, and that contract will be extended starting October 1. Award notification for the intermediate program, punishment program grant for the period July through June for $95,000. We have Chief Probation Officer Nick Wolf to brief us on this.
Yes, we were awarded our IP grant. It's one we go after annually, and it's one of the bigger programs that we like to run that helps keep borderline people out of state prison, helps keep them involved in the community, involved with services, and it's an intensive supervision to help hold them accountable as well while we're keeping them local. And then the funds help pay for electronic monitoring, drug testing, counseling, and salary of officers.
Why is it called intermediate, by the way?
Because it's borderline, the highest level of supervision, and they actually banned the words intermediate punishment from the grants now, even though it's an intermediate punishment grant. It has now been changed to probation with restrictive conditions.
Okay.
It's a language issue.
All right, glad I asked that question.
Is that for the same amount of money as last year's grant?
Yes. Any more discussion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Nick, you're still on for a juvenile probation services grant.
Yes, we were awarded our grant and aid through the juvenile portion of the state for $32,000, which is the exact same amount as every single year, and 100% of this is used towards officer salary
For juveniles.
for juvenile. Yes.
Motion approved.
Second? In favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Nick. Okay, next on the agenda, we have the appointment of Michael Baker as the county right-to-know officer, and we need to update the right-to-know policy. Is there a motion to appoint Michael Baker as the right-to-know officer?
Motion. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We have a resolution for financing from the Mifflin County Hospital Authority with respect to facilities at Valley View Haven. Can we get briefed on this? Let's see, we have a whole bunch of people here. Okay.
Good morning, I'm Attorney Ben Reed from the law firm Meddy Evans and Woodside. I have to be for you this morning. So the county, as incorporator of Mifflin County Hospital Authority, has a few approvals to take care of when the authority is serving as a conduit issuer for projects that benefit the community. I'm joined by Nicole Sarver, the CEO of Valley View Retirement Community, and the CFO, Dennis Peachy, who will describe a little bit of the project in a minute. So the resolution before you authorizes the federal approvals about a hearing that was held on the 26th, and the state approvals through the Municipality Authorities Act that requires the incorporator of the authority to declare that it's for the benefit of the community, for the health, safety, and welfare of the community to have this project planned. So that's the general authorization for the resolution, and it also authorizes signing a certificate of approval. So the Valley View Retirement Community is going to undertake a project which Ms. Sarver will describe in a minute. The financing is through Juniata Valley Bank. It's a loan initially in the amount of $10 million, with another final piece we expect to be around $3 million in January 2025. But this approval is for a not to exceed amount of $15 million to not have to come before you again, so you can give the approvals. And at the hearing that was held on the 26th, the authority also had a meeting and it authorized, adopted a resolution approving the project. And at that hearing, no members of the public were in attendance. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the financing itself, but if not, I'll hand it over to Nicole to describe the project that we're asking your support for.
I have one.
Sure.
Was that, JVB, was that like a bidding process or just chosen?
I don't believe it was a competitive bidding process. I know that the retirement community's worked with that bank in the past. Now, behind the scenes, it does pull in other banks in the area, so there's a participation of the loan with a couple other banks. But Juniata Valley Bank is the lead bank in the financing.
What's the term?
The rate is, it's a 10-year term, and it's 5.76% fixed for 5 years, and then it resets to the going rate, and then it's amortized over a 25-year period. So there's lower payments, and then higher payments would kick in at the end. And we've been meeting weekly and going over documentation. Of course, there's lawyers like myself involved who are doing all the paperwork. So it's going very smoothly, and we're expecting to close the financing for the first $10 million piece on September 12th. And the last thing I'll say is that these are formal approvals by the county. There's no obligations on the county's part. There's no liabilities. And the same goes for the authority. The authority serves as a conduit issuer because the federal tax code says you have to have a municipal authority of this type issue the debt and then lend it formally to the 501c3 organization. Happy to answer any other questions.
Now, I'll just read the approvals granted or granted by this resolution shall not in any way pledge or obligate the credit or taxing power of this county, nor shall the county be liable for payment of principal or interest or obligations as contemplated. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
Good morning. Just wanted to share a little bit about the financing. Valley View has been in service to older adults in this area for almost 56 years now. And what this financing does is it allows us to go back into some of those more aged areas of our building, specific to our nursing home section, and to do significant renovations. In addition, it would be the construction of a new 18-bed short-term rehab area to serve not just approximate 400 residents on our campus, but the greater community if somebody would be hospitalized and need short-term rehab before they could go back home. And the last part of this project would be the creation of memory support personal care. We are finding great demand in this area for increased memory support services. We currently do offer that on our campus, but it's within our nursing home, and we're finding that people don't necessarily need that level of care and support. So this would be the addition of an in-between level of support and service to meet an increased need that we're seeing in the community as well. The project, as Ben said, would start ideally in September this year and go to approximately March of 2026.
Is this on land already owned by the
It is.
corporation?
It is, yes. It's actually within the physical footprint of our existing building.
I apologize if you already said this, how many beds approximately would you have available for rehab then?
8.
All right, this would be an alternative, well, now everyone has to go to Pleasant County basically for rehab, so I'd be a Mifflin County alternative for that.
But how many full-time staff do you have?
Oh, we just did this, about 150?
158 full-time, 290 total.
Okay. Any more discussion or?
Are you adding, is it existing and an add-on?
The only addition would be it would be 21-bed additional memory personal care.
Okay.
That would be the only additional beds that we
Which would be
need.
structural, you're voting on, right?
No, we're actually able to take, we have an existing part of our building that since COVID, we have not been able to use.
Okay.
Just due to the pandemic and workforce shortage. So essentially, since about 2021, we have had an area of our building that's not been occupied. So through these renovations, we will be able to move residents around and then be able to use the existing space for this memory support area.
Okay, anything else? If not, we'll entertain the motion.
Dennis, did you have
Oh.
anything? Sure.
Yes, as a CFO, I would simply tell you that we have been very diligent in our planning for this project. It certainly will be a project that will enhance the long-term viability of Valley View. And again, as Nicole noted, we have had significant amounts of space that have been unoccupied for the last number of years. And as a CFO, I realize that really limits the revenue that we can generate, so this will certainly help with that. We'll also be transforming many of our rooms from semi-private with 2 individuals in the rooms to private rooms, which will again help meet the demand, which we see much more demand for private rooms in recent years. This will also allow us to hire perhaps 5 to 10 more individuals, provide a few more jobs for the county, and simply set the table for the long-term viability of Valley View. Thank you.
What's your timeline for this project?
Begins in 2 weeks, September 9th, and should end in February of 2026. Thank you.
All right. Someone move the motion to pass the resolution.
I move the motion. I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Is there anything else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Okay, we have a Pennsylvania Housing Affordability and Rehab Enhancement Fund grant agreement for $51,000 with Human Services Director Melissa Stewart.
Good morning. So this is a grant through the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency that we have gotten every year since 2017. We utilize this grant in order to help those who are facing eviction in their home. And if they meet program qualifications, then we enroll them in case management and provide them with some financial assistance to kind of help them get back on their feet again.
I think you said that this is the same as last year.
It's a little bit more. We did increase it. We did anticipate an increased need, especially with a lot of the COVID funds going away. This was actually, we applied for this in fall of 2023, so we'll be soon applying for the next year pretty soon, and I'm looking to increase it again because again, I see an increased need for some services, because we'll help with the goal is to help about 12 families with this particular funding.
That was another question, is the demographics or the type of,
Yep, 12 families, they have to be,
Facing
facing eviction, and they have to, be under 80% AMI, and at least 30% of those that we serve have to be below 50%. AMI is area median income. So, they update us on those charts every year according to, the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So we have to serve so many, it's a requirement of the grant for anybody who utilizes this grant, to have at least 30% be under that 50% of your area median.
are these rentals or this is?
It's
for-
rental, it is rental only.
Okay, and it's mostly families instead of like elderly?
It can be elderly, it can be, it's whomever, if they fit within that, if they fit the other requirements of the program, it can be individuals or families.
And once the money's gone, it's gone?
Correct.
How long does it usually last in a year, like half a year?
It's really hard to predict. Pre-COVID, it would last about a year. It was underutilized in recent years, so we have 18 months to use it. So we would utilize, it would take the full 18 months to utilize it when we had some of the COVID dollars, because they were much more plentiful, and they didn't require case management. This requires a level of case management so that they get connected to other community services, and hopefully that it's not an ongoing issue for them. That is what the goal is.
Okay, anything else?
Is that 12 families, is it like always the same families, or is it
That's our
different?
goal. It could be a little bit less, or it could be more, so if maybe people don't utilize everything that's available to them, and we can open it up to another family, we will do
Or
that.
Is it the same families like year after year?
No.
Okay.
And we actually have a policy of we only serve people every 24 months.
Okay.
So there has to be some time in between than when they were first accepted until they can get assistance from our office again. And I don't think we've ever utilized the same family twice in 7 years, if I think about it, so, yeah.
Okay, any more discussion? If not, is there a motion to, I guess what we're doing is applying for it, so this is.
No, this was the grant agreement.
Oh, this is
Yep.
to approve the grant agreement.
Yeah, I'll come to you in a couple months for the new application.
Motion to approve the grant agreement.
Motion.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. And you're still up there, Melissa, for the food purchase agreements.
Yeah, so this is for the state food purchase program. This is actually a little bit less than last year by about $3,000, I'm not sure, $2,500 to $3,000 less. All of our food pantries in our community, they go through an RFP process, and then our state food purchase program and emergency food and shelter program boards vote to approve the amounts. So we did adjust those amounts based off of the decrease of funds, and then they purchase food mostly through the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank to fill their pantries to help serve families.
And how are the allocations determined? I know there's a board that does.
Right, it's through the RFP process, so they ask for so much money. And then, what I typically do is I review it based off of how many families they've served. So for instance, you'll see Hand of Grace and Calvary Bible receive significantly more than any of the other pantries, and that's because they serve a significantly more amount of families than, or individual households, I should say, than what the other pantries do. So that's why they get more based off of the number that they serve each month.
Okay.
And just to kind of throw it out there, because I did get a Central Pennsylvania Food Bank report right after I had submitted this, these funds helped provide over 105,000 pounds of food to Mifflin County last year. We served, and this is not local buy, this is just through the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. We served 1,758 families. 371 of them were new, averaging 250 families per month that are receiving food through this program that are in need. And last year, when SNAP benefits decreased, they started to see a huge increase in need for those families that are food insecure, which we still have about 15% of families are food insecure in Mifflin County. So this really helps extend people's food budget and gets food in their homes.
Is there any explanation why the allocation went down?
For the SNAP benefits, or for ours?
Of our program?
I'm not sure, but it's just, it is based off of those served, so we did have a slight decrease last year because of SNAP benefits being increased. Not as many people were utilizing it. It started to increase again at the end of the year, so we'll see what next year brings. It wasn't considerably less, but it was less than it was the year before when it had been slowly increasing in previous years.
And the amounts for the different places, did most of them get near what they asked for?
Pretty close, yeah. We try to get them as close, actually, each one got around 20% less than what they asked for.
Thank you.
And this goes to the Hand of Grace, Abuse Network, Bible Baptist, New Life Church, Bible Baptist, Soup Kitchen, Calvary Bible, Lewistown VFW, that has a distribution also,
That's for military share, correct?
take for the military and Salvation Army.
Yes.
And we have a small amount for admin.
Yes, and we share the administration fees with the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank, so they can buy food on pennies for the dollar through there.
Okay. Any more discussion? Is there a motion?
Motion, Matt. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Melissa. Next, we have Hooper Horn change order for CDBG project in Derry Township. This will be the project, the Senior Citizens, Senior Center renovations project. Michael Fonte, what is this?
Good morning. So this is just a change order for the project. While we were in discussion for the scope of the project, they decided, Derry Township decided they wanted to switch from a single tankless water heater, well, the engineer as well. They both agreed that they wanted to switch from a tankless water heater to, or point of use water heaters to a tankless water heater, and then utilize a recirculation pump to keep the water warm. They're using, they're going to, this is for additional meetings with us for setting up the project. This is also for increase in the project scope that wasn't originally in the contract. This is to provide them with reviewing of shop drawings. And then this is also to help cover, we have to rebid the project because the first bid didn't go through and weren't able to get a secure contractor. And so what's happening with the funding for it is that CDBG is able to apply for 15% of the original contract for any change orders. And so the actual change will be a larger change. It will be a fee of $12,500. The change order will cover $2,775, and Derry Township has agreed to cover the rest of the payment.
You mentioned earlier when reading this, the bids were rejected. Why were the bids rejected?
We didn't get enough bidders. There was only one bidder for the plumbing section, and I believe there wasn't any bidder for electrical.
So what makes us think that rebidding it, bringing in more bidders?
This is what's going to be a part of the change order, was just to have more meetings to discuss how to, get more bids and get the project completed.
Is that prevailing wage?
I believe so, yeah.
Through
Mhm.
CDBG, is
Mm-hmm.
it normally through them, correct?
Yeah, it's probably as CBG, Jim, is it Davis Bacon?
I think it's Davis Bacon.
Oh, Davis Bacon, sorry.
Okay, so that would be that, okay.
Right.
Is that part of the issue, you think, with contractors?
I believe it could be part of it, yeah.
You think they're just,
There was only, there were 3 contractors that came to the pre-bid meeting to review it was held at the senior center. And they were the ones who submitted bids, but the bids that they submitted, some of them were not, proper and like up to, didn't have the proper, paperwork filed. And so we weren't able to accept the bids because of that. And so we're gonna work with them as well on having them properly fill out, any paperwork required.
is that the one, is that in Yakertown there, that one?
Yeah, by the,
Down in the,
yeah.
right, the township, maintenance there?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, well, keep us, I'm sure you'll keep us in the loop on this.
Mhm.
Any more discussion on this change order? This increase of $2,775. I'll entertain a motion to approve the change order of $2,775.
Should move. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Next, we have the holiday schedules for the correctional facility, the courthouse, and 911 employees. These holiday schedules are for 2025. It's important to do this now as we go into budget season. So, any discussion on the 2025 holiday schedule for those 3 places? If not, is there a motion to approve the 2025 holiday schedule?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We have a contract with Correction Consultants LLC for the assessment of county jail operations. This contract is for $5,500. Working with the commissioners and the board on this. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And lastly, we have personnel items. We have a resignation of George Hackenberg, part-time corrections officer, effective August 21st. Rescind the resignation of children and youth caseworker Abigail Yoder. Hiring of Curtis Baylor, Matthew Boyer, and Alexia Berry for part-time correction officers effective September 3rd. And resignation of children and youth caseworker 3, Nathan Reese, effective September 25th. Is there a motion to approve these personnel items?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Our agenda is completed, the meeting is adjourned.